Hello everyone, my name is Joshua. This is the 92nd video of my video journal series. Today's date is Monday, the 11th of May, 2026. How's everyone been? I've been pretty good, thank you. And something I want to talk about with you today is, I guess, um, it'll be, what should I discuss today? There's a lot of good things popping through my mind. I know, being lost. What do I mean by being lost? Sorry, just my throat. It's a little bit sore today, so I'm just trying to, I guess, keep it low and mellow. Being lost. And what do I mean by being lost? Well, have you ever been in a race, swimming race, athletic race, or even just working on an assignment, that could be a race against time. And you're like, the last one to, I guess, finish, hand in that assignment, um, reach the end of the line. I certainly felt I was like one of those kids, especially in athletics, always be last, the last swimmer, the last um, um, person to complete the race. And even with like exams and assessments, I always found myself being like the last one to submit their um, assignment or the last one to finish an exam. Not because I was like inherently, I guess, bad or anything, or that I was, lagging behind, but I spent a lot of time and dedication on my work. And I think we as a society, we need to stop placing emphasis on who comes first, rather, than I guess, um, what am I trying to make it? I guess like we put too much emphasis on who's always first. The first person to achieve this, the first person to cross the line comes in first place. But we don't really focus on each individual person's ability. Like someone can come second or third, doesn't mean they did bad or anything. It's just that, they fell short of the person who came first. But, if you know, ran your first ever marathon and you got second place, that's a very good achievement. We should acknowledge that. But, to the normal human eye, they'll only look at the person who came in first place. Same thing with assessments and all that. That's why I don't like the ranking system with assessments. I think the ranking system in the school education system is just the dumbest thing ever. Rankings and all that. It should be based on the individual student. School isn't like sports where you have rankings of who came first, second, or third. But even in sports, that can kind of breed a little bit of toxicity. But sports is about I guess, whoever comes first, second, or third, whoever wins, sort of thing. And it's also about like physical activity. But if you're watching the Olympics, you'll pay attention to who won the race rather than who came last. But even in the Olympics, for a country like Australia, for instance, we're proud even if our athletes, are like a very small, I guess, minority. Even if we come in like third place, that's still a proud achievement for us. Depends what it is, obviously, but if it's a sport we're not good at and we come third place, let's say, I don't know, like skiing, for instance, that'll be a pretty good achievement. But obviously, to the I guess international eye, they'll focus on who came first. It'll be like America or China or Japan or a country that's very good for skiing. I don't know, Canada. So I reckon that that's why I think the ranking system, not in sports but in schools, sorry, is kind of dumb because it kind of like reinforces that notion where you only look at the person who came first, second, maybe third, but you don't look at the quote unquote middle belly kids and the kids who came last. And I'm here to say that coming last isn't necessarily bad. Let's say if a class of 30 does an exam, the highest mark is 29 out of 30, and the lowest mark is like 24 out of 30. The lowest mark is still pretty good. You could have the bottom 10 kids score 24 out of 30, then the middle 10 kids most probably score But that's not how it works really. But anyway, so like, last 10 kids get maybe 24, then the 10 kids after those will most probably range between, I don't know, 24, 26, or whatever. And then the top kids will obviously get like 26, 28, 29. That's just an example. It can go theoretically anywhere. I doubt that 10 kids are all going to get the exact same mark, but you know what I mean. You can still get a very good mark and come last. And it can only be like, and there could just be like 1 or 2 marks separating you from like the average or even like the top mark, but people will only pay attention towards that top mark, you know? Um, yeah, it could even be like the small difference of 1 mark, where your placement gets bumped, or you might get bumped towards last place. But I'm here to say that being last isn't necessarily bad. In fact, you should be proud that you even like participated in a sporting event or even in school doing an assignment. Um, we always have that connotation that whoever comes last fails. Well, that isn't necessarily the case, Um, you might have a lucky, I guess, class where, the teacher says after the exam's finished, and once they've done marking it, obviously, like, oh, no one failed. Everyone got a passing mark. That should be an achievement. I reckon everyone passing in a classroom of 30 on an exam or assessment is much more an impressive, it's like a much more impressive achievement than, having like the top three score near perfect marks, but have like five or small handful of kids fail. It's a miracle that you know the whole class has passed, and that everyone maybe got like a 60 or 70% above. That's a very good achievement, and you coming last, with a 60 or 70% isn't an inherently bad mark. It could use some improvement, but it's that connotation that whoever come last, whoever's whichever student's got the lowest mark or lowest performance has failed. Well, that's not always the case. Um, Especially with HSC, like theoretically, if every kid were to like get 100 out of 100 for the HSC exams, then who will get first place in the HSC? Not everyone can get an ATAR of 99.95 or whatever it is, the highest one that you can get. It's only, excuse me, it's only reserved for like a small handful of students. And, like, what if everyone were to get like near perfect marks? Then you could theoretically be ranked as like, you know in a mystery mark range of the HSC. Not that this will ever happen, obviously, because there's always going to be kids who do better than others by a long margin in terms of ATAR, unfortunately. But there's always going to be that disparity. But hypothetically, what if everyone were to like at least pass their exams and do well? That means you can theoretically get the lowest ATAR possible, but you still passed and do well on all your exams. So yeah, like ATAR here in New South Wales is just a university admission number. Basically, how well you do in high school in terms of exam performance in year 11 and 12 determines your eligibility to enroll in unis and specific degrees and all that. And I, for one, believe that education should be free and open to all. In a perfect world, we wouldn't have I guess ATARs and everything like that. You can just do whatever course you like, start from scratch. And I think that's how university should be, I guess, in a perfect world where, it doesn't matter if you know nothing about that subject, you can enroll in it and the subject will teach you everything that you need to know. But unfortunately, there's stuff called ATAR, and you can't get into the good universities unless you got a good ATAR. Otherwise, you're forced to go into the quote unquote bad ones. And, I don't like slandering education institutions or anything like that. I believe, um, you know, all universities should be respected, but unfortunately, some are more quote unquote competitive than others. Like a degree from UCID, um, or UNSW, one of the top universities. that everyone tries to get into. And I'm not doubting that they're very good at universities. They are pretty good, um, institutions. But I want to see, um, you know, um, that same quality be applied to all universities. It isn't fair that, you know, here in Australia or here in Sydney at least, if you go to university, everyone just assumes, oh, you go to Unistudy, you go to USyd, maybe Macquarie, or maybe UTS, or maybe one of those like other third ones. But if you go to like anywhere else, you're seen like as an outcast, especially if you do something like an arts degree, which a lot of people just frown down upon, which I don't get. Like, obviously, the job opportunities, depending on which career path you choose, can be a little bit limiting, but, um, you know, it's just, I hate that, like, notion that, oh, since I did a science and math, sorry, since I do the sciences and math, that makes me superior to the person who does arts. No, that doesn't. You know, each degree has its own purpose. Depends what you use with your degree, which will lead into your future career path. And that's why, I'm not ashamed of coming last. In fact, as a kid, like I said, I used to come last in a lot of aspects, but I was still proud of my performance. And I say to you, the audience, well, obviously don't aim to, I guess, reach last place, but aim to, get high, on the podium, because unfortunately that's how, I guess, our society works. Aim to do well in terms of your own performance, and if you get a really high mark and a really high ranking, then all the power to you. But if you get like a low mark, or if you really really tried your best and you get like a low ranking, then I wouldn't be too worried about it. But unfortunately, when it comes to stuff like high school exams and all that, that will that is like the key, I guess, measure. And you could get 80 out of 100 for an exam, but if you get like 10th place, then um, unfortunately that won't be seen as um, you know as high of an achievement, even though that the top mark might be just like 83 or 84. Might be really really close. And yeah, so obviously I talked about, I guess, how ranking is sort of a stupid system in my eyes. Um, and I compare ranking to like this, like imagine you clock into your like full time job at the office, and your boss says, "All right, we'll reward the top 10 people um, you know, who deliver or who answer the most amount of phone calls in today's shift." You have 9 to 5, answer the most amount of phone calls in the office, and you get like a prize, the top 10 people. You get like bonus pay package. You get an extra $1,000. Excuse me. Like that would just seem kind of wrong. You'll be like, oh, why did only top 10 people get like an extra $1,000 on their next paycheck? Um, and when you go to the office, depending on what job you have, you just do your work. And then when it hits 5 o'clock or whatever time you clock out, you just leave. You know, there's no like competitive ranking system or anything. When you're doing a job, you just do the job for the required time um, that you get paid for, and then you leave. Um, that's how I basically treat school. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. My nose is like very itchy today, but I'll deal with it. So anyway, yeah, that's how I basically treat school. I set myself a start and an end time, usually around 9 o'clock in the morning to 5 in the afternoon, and I work hard, do all the work that I need to. If I need to stay back, I will, maybe for an extra half hour or hour, and then once I'm done, I just like pack up, leave, go home, relax, have a shower, and then go to sleep, wake up next day, do the exact same thing. I don't pay attention to like ranking or anything like that. Like I pay attention to what marks I got because I want to know where to improve, but I don't like obsess over marks anymore. I just value the feedback that I get on assignments, because feedback is obvious, ultimately the most important thing that you're going to receive in life, you know? But even then, just be proud that you did the assignment. Be proud that you ran that race. Not everyone gets the opportunity to, I guess, do that. So you should be proud. Doesn't matter if you came um, last or first or whatever, as long as you gave your biggest whack that you could, um, that's all that matters. It's not like if you go to the workforce yet again that they um, say, we're only going to keep the top 10, best employees, and then um, the rest of you get nothing sort of thing. Like, that's just, you know, kind of crummy in a sense. It rewards people who do, like, I guess, the who rank highly in terms of performance, but it negates everyone else who gave it their best shot. And so I'm not sad or anything, it's just my nose. Who gave it their best shot and you know didn't rank as highly. And obviously, there's a lot of discussion about like participation trophies and the fact that only first, second, and third place should get trophies. And whilst you can have your own opinion about quote unquote participation trophies, I believe that you know my form of a participation trophy is just the feeling that, hey, I was good enough to qualify in this race. I did my best. I did all the training that I can. Um, I still did pretty well. You know, I still managed to finish the race. I still managed to finish my assignment. I still managed to finish my work. So yeah, for all those students who are doing the HSC this year, or whatever they call it in your Australian state or territory, um, don't be too worried about ranking. I know everyone says, "Oh, how rankings like the most important thing." Well, don't be too worried about it. Just focus on your individual ability. And I know in the ACT, their version of the HSC is a lot different to all the other states. They actually have, um, you know, correct me if I'm wrong for anyone who's watching this in the ACT who are like high school students, but I think in the ACT they actually do like a lot more assessments, like hand in stuff, rather than exams for like high school finals. And I know that instead of there being like one big exam that sort of like determines it all, they have like smaller in-person assignments and all that, which I think should be um, what we do here in New South Wales. You know, um, like I think it's a little bit unfair that your entire, I guess, university admission um, is based on like one or two big exams. It should be evenly spread out. You know, I agree there should be more hand-in assessments during the HSC because assessments actually demonstrate your ability to work on a project and to work with others and to actually spend time doing something, Um, so yeah, like obviously I have a lot of, I guess, small nitpicks about the education system, but yet again, in a perfect world, which unfortunately we don't live in, but ideally, all universities should have the capability to welcome anyone that they like, um, and it doesn't matter if you got like an ATAR of 99 or an ATAR of 50, you can still do that course. It'll just obviously there's a lot, I guess, a lot more complex themes depending on what course you do compared to like other ones, but it just depends on the individual what they find easy, what they find hard, and um, they receive that form of an education. Let's say if someone want to be a doctor, but they score low on the HSC and they're forced to do a degree that they don't like, or like a bridging course or whatever, just so then they can get the chance to study medicine and all of that. Or maybe they don't study medicine. Maybe they're like, all right, maybe I'll just switch career paths, because I know I'll never be smart for medicine. That can have a serious detrimental effect. Like I, for one, don't even remember what I got for my ATAR. I have to like look it up. But nor did I care because in uni, no one asks for your ATAR. And like I guess in the workforce, no one really asks, "Oh, how much do you get paid?" Like, "Oh, are you the manager's favorite?" How many phone calls did you receive today? You just do the work and you leave, and that's how I kind of view um that's how I've kind of treated schools. Like you just work there, you leave, you clearly have working hours established, and yet again, it doesn't matter if you come last or anything like that. As long as you passed and you did your absolute best, then what more can you do? Um, obviously improve and all of that, but like, you know, I think we should stop shaming whoever's got in last place, because ultimately it takes a lot of courage and effort to run that race and to do that assignment and to like actually finish something. Obviously, um, yet again, unfortunately, you shouldn't be, I guess, aiming to become last place. You should always aim high, but yet again, I wouldn't say feel guilty or anything like that. And that, sometimes coming last can actually teach us a very good opportunity about things. Because, yeah, unfortunately, like if you go to something for like a job interview, you obviously want to stand out, you want to be first on their preferences and all that. Unfortunately, that's how the world, I guess, rolls, but, use it to your advantage, I say. And yet again, if you ever like run your next marathon or um, do your next, I guess, sporting event, and you come last place, don't feel ashamed. Be glad that you participated. And those people who judge you for being last, well, they didn't even run that race. So like, how would they know, sort of thing. And I guess to wrap up this video, I would say, what's my little wise quote of wisdom today? Little wise quote of wisdom. Um, hmm. I would say to take care of yourself. That seems pretty simple, but I feel like it is quite, I guess, easy to negate the small things in life, like brushing your teeth, eating well, eating healthy, drinking lots of water. Those are things that I miss because I'm so caught up in work and all the things around me. It seems like kind of silly, but there's some days where I wake up in the morning and I forget like basic hygiene and basic self care. Um, you know, and that's why I say, prioritize those small little things. Make it so that the first thing when you wake up is to clean yourself properly, to have a shower, bath, or whatever, and to brush your teeth, comb your hair, standard, but it took me a while to get into that routine, and even now, sometimes I fall out of that routine, and yeah, just to like eat well, drink lots of water, because ultimately you're responsible for caring for yourself, and that includes mental and physical well-being. I recommend walk at least 30 minutes a day. If you like me, walk 1 or 2 hours a day because I love walking at least an hour a day. You know, and don't do work too much. Like evenly distribute your work out. Don't get burnt out or anything like that. Um, you got to prioritize your mental and physical well-being because every day should be your best day. Everyone deserves to feel happy and to have their um, next day be better than the rest. Unfortunately, I guess there are hurdles in the way, but no one deserves to feel bad and to feel crappy and to feel sick all the time. I don't like feeling sick all the time. I like feeling healthy and being energetic. And I might be a little bit sick now, maybe because of my nose or something like that. But yeah, everyone, prioritize their own self care. Because yeah, you're ultimately responsible for looking after yourself and obviously looking after others. But you got to look after yourself. And I've definitely, um, been in those instances where you don't like think about like eating food or drinking water because you're like so locked into a task. But don't be like that. Drink plenty of water, eat healthy food, but obviously, I guess, eat what you're required um, according to your own diet. And yeah, just, um, you know, take care of your mental and physical well being because, again, no. Um, Life, here's another quote. Life, I don't see the point in rushing life, We all want to inspire to do things in the future, and that's fantastic. But you need to focus on those steps to achieve those goals. And you know, once you, I guess, once you've reached your adulthood and you go into your like 30s and you like get a house, get a job, get a family, and all that, you can't really go back to your 20s or go back to your youth. So prioritize what you can do now, and keep in mind what you can do later. Um, and I guess that's a good way of explaining it. Every day that goes by, um, I guess you're one step closer towards achieving your goals. But um, I guess cherish all the stuff um, that you, I guess, associate with your 20s now or whatever. I know I will be, because I'm 20 years old. I just turned 20 this year, and I know that once I hit my 30s, I won't be able to go back to my 20s again. So I'm taking it chill with my, I guess, 20s, and I'll see um, how life will be like in 10 years' time when I reach my 30s. But anyway, that's enough of me rambling. Sorry about my voice. I've been drinking lots of water and anything like that, but like it's still sort of, I guess, dry. But yeah, I guess I'll see you all next time. Bye. See you. Take care. See you all. See you all tomorrow.